Hello and welcome to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on so that you can get the notification about my new tutorials. So here we are with another great and exciting topic, and to be honest it is the most demanded topic of Kaspersky Security Center and endpoint security. So the topic which we are going to cover is called EDRO, Endpoint Detection and Response Optimum, and we are going to talk about this in this tutorial. I might need to break this tutorial into two parts because otherwise it would be very long. So I have prepared a small presentation explaining what EDR is, how the lab setup is, and we'll see if we can cover hands-on and presentation in one. Otherwise I might need to break this into two pieces. So part 1 and part 2 you might see for this particular tutorial. So let's start with Kaspersky Endpoint Detection and Response Optimum. So first thing what we need to know is what is EDR, right? When we talk about EDR, basically EDR is a solution which is designed for an organization where you do not have staff which is very highly trained, or they have a less IT security specialist in their organization. So Kaspersky came up with a very simple solution called Endpoint Detection and Response Optimum, which is also called EDR Optimum or EDRO as well. So this solution is basically designed to provide full visibility in the root cause analysis and an in-depth knowledge of the attack or the potential attacks which is happening inside the organization, and then you can respond quickly before the big damage occurs, right? So before the big damage happens, you will be able to mitigate, you will be able to take necessary steps, and you will be able to do some responses to protect this to spread into your organization or do a big damage. So when we talk about application architecture and components of EDR, this is an architecture diagram over here where we will have Kaspersky Security Center, and along with that we will have Kaspersky Endpoint Security and Endpoint Agent. Endpoint Agent is something which is a new thing, we have never talked about it, and of course Kaspersky Network Agent has to be there also. So when we talk about components, we have Kaspersky Endpoint Agent, we'll have Kaspersky Security Center. One of the major and important thing which we need to have is this EDR does not work without Web Console. So you need to have Web Console inside the organization, inside Kaspersky Security Center or in your organization. And then we have Network Agent, Kaspersky Endpoint Security 11.4 and later versions support EDRO. In the lab I'm going to use the latest version till date which is being used, and that latest version is 11.6 I believe, and we'll look into it when we are going to go into the lab. So what is basically Kaspersky? I believe you are of course already aware of rest of the other components, what is Network Agent, Endpoint Security, Kaspersky Security Center and the Web Console. But the main thing which is different from other console and other softwares is Kaspersky Endpoint Agent, which we have never talked about. So the application Kaspersky Endpoint Agent is basically for EDR Optimum solution, which gets installed as part of any EPP solution. When I say EPP, I'm referring to Endpoint Protection Platform. So any Kaspersky Endpoint Security for Windows application, for example, Kaspersky Endpoint Security 11.4 or 6, they come along with EPP Agent, and it is the main and the major component of EDR. When you have Kaspersky Endpoint Security, by default this feature is not enabled, but we look into the lab how you can enable it. There are certain prerequisites which we need to take care of course, which we are going to talk about. We need to have those in place. Some plugins are there, some prerequisites are there in order to work with Kaspersky endpoint endpoint detection and response Optimum. So what it does, when we talk about Kaspersky Endpoint Agent, what it does, it collects the data on threat and the verdicts and the threat context from Kaspersky Endpoint Security, enrich of verdict with gathered incident related in system data. It will provide the incident related data with Kaspersky Security Center for data visualization, including attack execution map, root cause. It also provides you IOC, which is indicator of compromise, scanning process on the endpoints, and it also provide you to do response actions also. So let's say, for example, host isolation, on-demand scan tasks, send files to quarantine, etc. These kind of tasks you can do with Kaspersky Endpoint Agent. And I don't need to, I believe, go into the rest of the topics like Kaspersky Security Center, Web Console, Network Agent, and Kaspersky Endpoint Security, because we have been talking about it and most of the people already know what exactly this is. So when we talk about system requirements, the major system requirement is to have Kaspersky Endpoint Security 11.4 or later versions. You can always download Kaspersky Endpoint Security from support.kaspersky.com, and then we need Kaspersky Security Center 11 for Windows servers or later, or of course again that also can be downloaded from support.kaspersky.com. Other components which we need for Kaspersky Endpoint detection and response Optimum is Kaspersky Web Console, Security Center, and Kaspersky Endpoint Agent 3.9 or above. And as I stated earlier, Kaspersky Endpoint detection and response Optimum can only work if you have Web Console. If you do not have Web Console, it is not going to work for you. So this is the major component which we need to have in place. And of course, URLs can be found in my description. I'll try to put all those URLs in description. But if I forget, for example, just in case, do message me, or I'll tell you to go to https support.kaspersky.com. Under business product, you will get all those components over there. Moving forward, what is my lab setup for this particular tutorial? I have my server, which contains fully qualified domain as app02.lab.local. The IP address for that server is 192.168.10.130. This is my Kaspersky Security Center server, and it will have Kaspersky agent also installed on it. And then I have a client machine called client01.lab.local, and the IP address for that client is 192.168.10.141. In place lab, what we have already installed, or what do we have already there? I have Kaspersky Endpoint Security and Web Console, which is already installed on my app02.lab.local server. You will find link in the description for my video tutorial where I have talked about how to install Kaspersky Endpoint Security with Web Console. Then we will have a sample test malware file which you can download from this URL, which I have listed over here. It is available for everybody to download just to test your lab setup. And this file is a test file. It acts like a malware, but of course it is not actual malware which will do harm to your machine. So it is safe to download it for the demonstration purpose or to do the test on your environment. And the password of this file which you are going to download from this URL is infected, all small words. So this is what we have in place already. So I have already downloaded this file and rest of the things are already in place. So Let's start with hands-on of the lab. Let's begin our lab. As I said, there are certain prerequisites which needs to be in place before you start with your lab. First thing, I'll show you that I have Kaspersky Endpoint Security Network Agent. It's not like a prerequisite, but you see I have it already, but no Kaspersky Endpoint Security or Kaspersky Endpoint Agent. And also I have downloaded the malicious sample file, which you will see the link in the description itself to download it. The password for this file is infected. Now let's go back to app server. First thing which you need to verify is your web plugins. You need to make sure you have web plugin for relevant applications. So you see I have Kaspersky Endpoint Security for Windows 11.6 and I have Kaspersky Endpoint Agent 3.11. It's almost similar. The same can work with 3.10 also, or 3.1 is also installed on my environment. Just in case if you do not have all the things available, you need to go to operations, Kaspersky applications, current application versions, and over here what you can do is you can just click filter, because there are huge list of applications and plugins which you will see. In filters, write endpoint agent 3 and just apply this. And you see you have distribution packages, you have plugins in place, you have web plugins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try web plugin, but you will see not this one, English version, and you will see that it will throw an error that I already have this plugin in place. Okay, meanwhile we are waiting for that error. I'm going to go back to my filters. I'm going to apply again endpoint agent. Okay, over here what I need to download over here is Kaspersky Endpoint Agent plugin in English. I am going to download this one. Okay, let it download. And you see a plugin is for this application already installed. This is for web plugin, but not the one which I have just downloaded. Let's install this plugin over here. So this is Kaspersky Endpoint Agent 3.10 plugin for console. Once all these plugins and everything is in place, the next part is to install Kaspersky Endpoint Security to our machines with Kaspersky Endpoint Agent. If you already have your Kaspersky Endpoint Security installed, you have possibility to only push Kaspersky Endpoint Agent. But in my case, I do not have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, edit this package in the settings. If we go down, we have option to enable endpoint agent over here. Just save it and follow the normal deployment process. If you don't know, you can find the link in the description also and on my channel how to push network agent and Kaspersky endpoint security together onto endpoint machines. I'm just going to quickly go through with this. Click on deploy. Okay. Going to push it on client machine. I'll name it KEA. So this task will be created and will be pushed to my selected devices. This will take little time, so you need to be a little patient about it. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this task, that this task has assigned, and 50% complete because network agent is already installed. And it will start installing the other part of the solution in the selected machine, on the selected machines basically. And if you click over here, it shows over here that Kaspersky Endpoint, Kaspersky Security Center 13 network agent has already been installed, so we don't need to do anything, but this task is still 50% complete because endpoint security and endpoint agent has to be pushed. I'll pause this recording over here and we'll resume once the installation is complete. This is little time taking task, so we'll take the pause over here and we'll resume the tutorial when we are done with it. So as you can see now, the installation of Kaspersky Endpoint Security for Windows is also completed. The next step what we need to do is just to verify, we are going to come over here, refresh this list, and you see that this task is successfully completed. Let's go to the machine, refresh it, and you will see that Kaspersky Endpoint Security for Windows and Kaspersky Endpoint Agent has already been installed over here. Next step for this process is to create a task to deploy the license key. So we are going to click on Add Task over here. Because we have our plugins in place, Endpoint Agent is available now. Activate license, deploy to manage devices, select the key, and next, and finish. Just it might take a little time over here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure that it gets pushed immediately for me. And as you can see now, it is completed successfully. Now the next step is to create our policy for Kaspersky Endpoint Agent. So we are going to come under Devices, Policies and Profiles. We are going to create Add Kaspersky Endpoint Agent policy. You might have observed that it was not there before. I am just going to uncheck Kaspersky Sandbox integration. Currently I don't need it. The rest everything is in place. Click Next over here. Go to Application Settings. Two things which are very important, as I said, this one and the other part. What you need to make sure is you have to come to repository, synchronization with administration server. You need to make sure these both boxes are checked. Send data about object quarantine on managed devices and send data for creation of the threat development chain. Click OK, save it. And now the last part is to create kill chain process. In my case, I have over here reports. If you do not have this option available, this report definitely will be there. But in this report, we are going to add specific field. Just in case if you do not have it already over here, you need to add open incident over here and just move this to the top. Okay. The other thing what I move on the second number is detected at. This is how we are creating kill chain process. And I normally change this to descending order. Rest pretty much it. You will keep the same as you can see over here and just save it. So now by this way our lab setup is complete to test the EDR scenario. We are going to stop this video part 1 over here and we are going to continue part 2 with execution of our malicious content and reporting, creating tasks and policies, IOC tasks, etc. Thank you so much for watching this walkthrough. Please use the comment section below to let me know if this solves your problem or this is what you were looking for. and to discuss more about any of the technologies which I'm talking about. Thank you and stay blessed.